It's the Dad Pants Podcast, and I'll tell you something. If there's something that the Dad Pants Podcast likes, it's dads with pants. And I think I've got one on the line here. Monty, hello.
Yeah, I am. You caught me at a pantsed time. Occasionally, with, the lockdowns, there are unpantsed times.
Well, I prefer to imagine that you would put pants on to have a conversation with me. That makes me feel comfortable just assuming that.
Can I ask you a question? When you...
It's going to be a short podcast if you don't. Sorry.
When you think of dad pants, let's go non-metaphorical here, just practical. What do you think is the most dad of pant you can have?
Well, I think the ill-fitting cargo short. That's why we picked that for the show's artwork. The
I like that. It's more of a dad short.
Well, look, pants. In my mind, pants are long and short. I don't make any distinction there. If others do, that's on them.
Non-discriminatory.
That's their problem to deal with. But I think you can't really beat a kind of like a tan-coloured cargo short.
Oh, lovely.
With preferably with a kind of tight polo shirt tucked into it that's really sticking to the gut tight.
Upsettingly so. Yeah. Can I suggest also in this fair country of ours that a lovely inappropriate kind of worn pair of footy shorts? Like, you shouldn't be wearing footy shorts now. It's dinner time, but it's like, no, I'm still wearing footy shorts. That feels very dad panty.
Yeah, I suppose down your bogan end of the dad scale. But I mean, we could divvy the dads up into kind of subgenres if you wanted to. But if I think
subgenres of dad is great.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can have an upper class daggy dad versus a real chavvy dad.
Chav dad. Well, there are chav dads too. That's good.
Well, so what are you rocking then? Are you still trying to wear funky trousers?
Well, I had a thought the other day, actually.
Tell whoever's messaging you to fuck off.
No, it's annoying, isn't it? Like, what am I supposed to fucking do here?
Well, just turn your phone to silent.
Okay, so when I was asking about pants, I had a bit of a shower thought the other day. I was thinking about the term slacks. Men wear pants called slacks,
they do.
Right? And it's relatively, I know what they mean when you say slacks, but it encompasses a couple of different types of pant, I would say. Do you think slacks is a backlash to tights?
That's not a bad thought. Yeah, you're right. Why haven't I questioned the etymology of slacks before?
Right? Yep. And I came up with maybe back in the day that was not your tights, you had your slacks.
Well, yeah, one of those big kind of 18th century pantaloons, maybe. Are they? Is that where slacks came from, maybe?
Maybe, because they were very slack.
Yeah, they were. They were exceedingly so.
Fit like a lamb in there.
Yes. Well, we're being very literal today, just talking about pants pretty much from the get-go.
That's all right. Sometimes some people have probably come here wanting pant talk, not knowing it's about fatherhood.
They've waited months for it, and here it is. Yeah, right. Yeah,
thinking it's a pant pod.
But knowing our luck, 2 weeks ago, they're going, I'm going to give it one more episode. If they don't talk about pants in this one,
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Tell me some baby stuff, because you came back to the pod last week, but we only kind of really scratched the surface with your experience over the first few weeks. How are things going at the moment?
Yeah, mate, they're going well. She's growing up, and we keep going through different phases where something that'll work one night won't work the next night. We've hit a bit of a bad run of evenings. She seems to not feel the greatest from, say, 6 through till about midnight. We think it's a bit of gas-related stuff. We think there's, a few other things going on, but she'll generally kind of do a bit of a cry unless she's being directly held. Okay. Do you remember that kind of phase? You got any tips on that?
For sure. Well, I think I've talked about previously the shush pat.
Yeah, shush pat's good. I've used and it's worked. It's good.
Well, that's really the only weapon we had in our arsenal, to be perfectly honest.
Can I tell you, I don't know if we talked about this when we talked about the shush pat, do you know why shush is a sound that babies like?
Yeah, I think it's because it reminds them of the sound of the blood rushing around their head while they're in the womb. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah, which I think was quite interesting. It's
and the pat, the rhythmic pat, would be the heartbeat. I'm imagining for the mother.
And that's why it's on their butt, because that's where their butt would have been, closer to the heartbeat.
Yes, right. Yeah. No, it does make sense, but I suppose by that token, then when you go to put the child down and stop patting, they suddenly are terrified that their mother's just passed away.
Exactly. Yeah, the lack of pat could mean anything for them. Lack of shush sound means, all the blood in the world has stopped. You know what I have been interested by, and this has been a cool addition to my life, is white noise, right? So everyone's all on about your baby needs a bit of white noise to sleep.
Yep.
So we got given as a gift from some family members an awesome white noise machine called the Hatch.
Right.
It's got some cool lights, and you can control it by a phone, and you got all these options of different white noise. And so, like, there's a nice rushing river. There's a kind of foresty bird sound.
Yes. Yeah.
Unfortunately, her favourite one is the one that sounds like a washing machine, and it's like I have a washing machine. I could have just put that on, but it's like what we've been doing is Lindsay and I have put them on before
bad
bed.
Guts or something while that was going on. If that's the most reassuring sound for the baby.
And it's been really affecting my dreams and my evening, especially if we have the rainy one on. I'll dream that I'm like in a forest and wake up and thinking it's raining.
You're having a lot of dreams you're working a dry cleaner or something.
Exactly what I was getting at. Yeah, the dry cleaner one's just a kind of bit boring. It's like, well, what have I done? Slept in the dry cleaner again? Have I? But
just doing some admin out the back, like totting up some invoices and.
So no, it's been a fun thing. The white noise. Did you? Well, I was on the internet, right, and I was looking up white noise stuff, getting tips, and I found this one guy offering a tip. He said, "Don't bother paying for a white noise machine. Get a microphone, record water running, loop it up on your computer, and burn that to CD." And play that on a thing. And I was like, what? This doesn't sound... And then I looked at it. He'd written the article in 2006.
I was going to say.
I was like, we've got far more advanced.
Go to eBay, find a CD player from
exactly
20 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought that was a good idea. But my phone would do, a billion times better these days.
Yeah. No, I made some songs for Dylan. Because he was a restless sleeper as well. So I would just get a lot of that kind of baby peaceful music. I thought I bought some off iTunes at the time.
Wow.
And just I got in and edited up like really long tracks that kind of flowed into each other. So it was hopefully correlating with what a good sleep pattern would be. Yes, but so not so much just straight up white noise, but kind of all the kind of stereotypical peaceful music that people would go to sleep to. There is an issue with, like, he did get addicted to having music playing while he was trying to sleep, and pretty much
heard that's an issue. Should I worry about that? Do you think maybe no white noise?
Well, I don't know. It depends, but it depends if it is an issue, really. But he would probably pretty much, and he's nearly 10 now, but up maybe 2 years ago, we would start phasing it. He was phasing out. He would listen to music every night.
And required a live orchestra, right, too? That would have got expensive for you guys.
Well, he was a massive fan of Tea Party, the Canadian band, actually. Some
really?
Listeners might know it.
Yeah, I know the Tea Party. That's a bit heavier than I would have thought for a sleeping baby.
Well, not a baby. This is when he was this is older. This is when still addicted to having music, but tastes
sleeping regular child.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
And my wife and I kind of bonded over liking that band early on, so it played around our house a fair bit when he was younger. So,
well, that's nice.
But yeah, he just would play Tea Party quite a lot trying to go to sleep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, is that
I don't know. I don't know if
no.
that's good, but like he sleeps now without it. So obviously you can transition to not using it, but I don't know whether it was just kind of stubbornness on his part or whether he felt he really needed it all that time.
I bet he longs for it.
Well, he reckons he doesn't like Tea Party now, so...
Whoa, that's a bit of a kick in the ghoulies, isn't it?
Oh, look.
You used to love this Tea Party, kid.
He had a solid 4 or 5 years straight of listening to it. So,
Yeah, that's enough Tea Party for anyone, I would think. Is their name?
Now he just likes songs he hears on YouTube videos. That's all he likes, really.
Yeah, I get that. The Tea Party, is their name based on the American kind of start of the Civil War? Not Civil War, the War of Independence?
I don't know that I've ever found out, but I would suspect it would be more Alice in Wonderland related.
Oh, yeah, not Boston Tea Party.
Not Boston style.
Alice.
No.
Yeah, okay, fair. No, that makes sense for a Canadian band. There's been a lot of reggae around our house. Kids seem to dig bloody heavy dub and reggae, which is good.
Kids
it's something we listen to. Yeah, because I was reading about it. It's the kind of the chords and the beat. Reggae kind of really resonates with young kids, so which is good for us because we love a bit of reggae. So it's been pumping around the house.
Yeah. So I think maybe just for your own sanity, maybe mix the white noise up with some other gear.
Yeah, nice.
Particularly if your baby sleeps in the same room as you, right?
Yes. Yeah, baby sleeps in the same room currently, yeah.
Well, depending on how long that goes for, you might want a bit of variety yourself,
Yeah, fair play.
You might not want to work in a laundromat every night for the next year or so.
Well, I did look into a bit of stuff which interested me because the white noise machine's connected to the Bluetooth, not the Wi-Fi, thank God, because I've read some horror stories about people kind of tuning into your baby's thing and telling them scary things.
What, whispering to them in the night?
Yeah, Satan stuff. Yeah, exactly. Isn't that creepy? Yeah.
Well, so hang on. How does this work? People wandering the streets looking for Wi-Fi they can hack into.
Well, no, I think this is more from a distance. There's apparently, if you can get into a Wi-Fi. I'm no hacker.
No. But the radio waves you can tune into.
Well, no, I think you can do it from your house. Yeah, I don't think it's your proximity, but like a lot of these modern things are connected to the internet. It's that whole the Internet of Things, and you can hack into them. I saw a story the other day about now this might be a bit blue for our regular podcast, but a man had a chastity device, shall we say?
That's the opposite of blue.
Good point. Why it was connected to the internet, I'll never know. But it was connected to the internet. He put it on.
Sorry.
Go on.
Well, wouldn't the point of that be obviously perhaps his partner is somewhere else and his partner gets a little message if he's taken the chastity belt off? Ding, 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 ding. Hang on.
There you go. I reckon you're absolutely right.
There's trouble
that
brewing
kind of thing.
What's this?
Well, so he's got a text, an email from a hacker saying, "I've locked your chastity device. Pay me this much money, or you'll never get it off." In more ways than one. So,
nice.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a worry.
But what doesn't have the funds? He's just got to go it with a sledgehammer.
Exactly. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
We need. So beware the Internet of Things.
Beware the Internet of Things. That's our takeaway message. That's I imagine being a person hacking into baby's Wi-Fi and whispering awful things to them in the night.
Isn't that terrible? Yeah. It's just bizarre.
Well, on that note, should we maybe check in with the Pants panel? I know they're keen to see how you're going. As I said, we only kind of just dabbled a little bit with how you've been, so I'm sure they want to hear more about your dadding journey. Shall we go and talk to them?
Would love to.
Well, it's a crazy old world. There's lots happening in it. Not a huge percentage of it pleasant at the moment. The COVID stuff, that's hard to ignore. Global warming, it's being universally acknowledged this week that we've pretty much reached a 1.5 degree. There's just no coming back from that. 1.5 degree global raise in average temperature. That's just happening. But what can you do? Well, you can listen to podcasts, I suppose. And you've chosen to. Hey, it's the Pants podcast. Or should I say it's the Crazy Dad Comedy Hour. Hey,
nice.
Ding, 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 ding. Let's bring back that from last week. And one of the pants panels missing again. It's a different one this time. Everyone's had a crack.
Going through rotation.
Yeah, it's not a roster, fellas. You can all turn up. It's all good. Ben's missing, but Matt and Rich are here. Hello, boys.
Hi.
Hello.
Before we get into other planned dad-related gear, Monty, you were just bitching to me before the record about canned beer. You got more to say about that?
Yeah, sure. I got a beer for the record because, that's what you do. You have a drink.
You're a dad, and you're doing a podcast.
Oh, mate, I've got actually so much to go into this. You know where I got the beer from? I got the beer from a fridge in my garage, which I just had like the instinct to move out there before the baby was born. We have a fridge in the house as well. But my wife was saying to me today, is that that's a dad thing, right? Like a garage fridge that you
Garage fridge is very dad.
I've had one in a previous house and I miss it all the time.
It's great.
Not that my inside fridge is overflowing, but just having an outside fridge is a nice feeling.
Yeah, it's either got beer in it or it's got pavlova.
And Christmas ham.
At Christmas time.
Christmas ham.
Yeah,
Christmas
exactly
ham
right.
makes sense.
It's the ham fridge.
I've got a lot of frozen meat out there too.
Well, you are doing well.
Oh, you're
Mainly
dad.
for
Dad.
dogs. Yeah. But so what I was
really
saying about the
daddy.
beers was I went to grab myself a beer because one of the things with having an outdoor fridge is it gives you more kind of impetus to buy more beer. So I've been buying different beers, just thinking, well, I can put them in the fridge and I'll have them there So I grabbed a beer and I'm drinking it. And I was just thinking how stupid beer cans look these days. There's too many, like what happened to just a good looking kind of even a VB can, let's say. It's pretty simple. You know what it is. It doesn't have pictures of devils and kind of like weird things on it. Like when did that suddenly become what you had to do?
When you had a crowded marketplace, I think is the answer to that one. Like when you're back in the day, there was Tooheys and there was Carlton, and you chose one or the other. You're a VB man or you're a Tooheys draft.
Man. Yeah.
That was what you did. And that Tooheys new or even back to the old, Tooheys 2.2.
Yeah.
That was a win.
And anyone came in with the Fosters, they got pantsed and laughed out of the room.
What about a good old KB, kids beer? I haven't had one of them in a while.
KB.
Yeah. But it's not just a crowded market. It's a crowded hipster market. Let's face it. Hipsters making craft beer, trying to out-fancy each other. That got a good reaction. All right.
I had to burp off mic. I was going to react, but then I stopped for a second to move away.
Well, that's one excuse out of three.
Well, that's the problem with these beers, you see. The old beers didn't make you burp.
That's a big call.
It's a lie. It was a blatant lie. They sure did.
I like the Hawkeye beers, the patio ale.
Yeah, one for the country. Yeah, they did well. Latching onto him to make a beer.
Well, absolutely. But it is it's retro, but not too retro hipsterish. It's like acceptably retro, if that makes sense.
I think Filter from Marrickville make a good looking beer can because it looks very it's very simple and from that kind of older style.
All right. Well, we fished for sponsorships long enough, haven't we?
Sorry, there is just something very particularly special about going into a pub where there is no craft option and you go and have a schooner or a VB or a pint of VB and it is an incredible tasting beverage. Like there's so much comes back as soon as that frosty amber hits the back of your throat. It's like I'm 18 again, but now I'm loving the beers and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I got swept away by all the fanciness of modern day beers because I used to love a bloody Carlton Draft on tap. Carlton Draft.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. You go back to them and they're good beers. They're tasty. They're clean. They're good. They hit the spot. I think especially after you've been doing something manual.
Bit of hard yakka.
Absolutely.
Bit of hard yakka.
Nothing. You want a no nonsense beer, and that's where you get stuck in.
The best beer I ever drank was, I don't know if any of you were there, was on Dangar Island.
Oh yeah, at the bowling club.
Yes, that Dangar Island.
I know what you're talking about.
Where we dug, we for some reason went to a mate's house and there was a bowling club and somehow we all got roped into digging up the bowling club.
Wow. This sounds like one of those great mate stories.
We just spent there was quite a few of us too, and we spent a couple of hours literally just digging up a bowling club. And then it was a really hot day, and when we finished, they said, come and get all the beers you want. And I just remember drinking that first sip of beer, just being like terrific.
Yeah.
But I also remember being so knackered that I couldn't no one really drank more than one beer because they were probably dehydrated.
Yeah.
I think that feeling of I still play soccer on Saturdays, not during COVID, but that first beer that you probably should drink more water, but you've gone to the pub with mates and you replenish with beer. It is the best tasting beer you'll have, but it's also the worst affecting one. About half an hour later, I'm like, I have, completely replaced all the liquid in my body with beer now, and I feel horrible.
That nice headache.
Yeah, real headachy vibes.
The post lawn mowing beer.
Post lawn mowing.
That's a good beer.
That's a have to have beer. Like that's I won't mow the lawn unless I've got a 6-pack in the fridge. Like I can't do it.
That's
Ellis puts he's got a cool guardy safe, and he puts his in water because it's even better after mowing the lawn. Oh. Get it out.
You know that maybe Rich is doing dry July or something if you've got the Daintree in his front yard. Any anecdotes not beer related? Or beer related, I suppose, if you've got one.
I just wanted to follow up. I listened to last week's episode today, which was a delight. It's sometimes nice to not be on the podcast so I can listen to it with fresh ears and hear what they have to say.
Well, listen, I know you pants panel are wise, but you don't actually have to increase our listen numbers by taking turns not being here. And
no, that's true. I could listen to it anyway. Yes, that's true. But I wanted just to go over a few things that came up last week. In particular, Ellis talking about potty or toilet training his son.
Yeah.
So you were saying, Ellis, that he won't poop unless it's in a nappy.
Yeah. Well, you got a problem with our Western Front solution, or
well,
just digging a trench
with a hole?
Nappy with a hole. I think you do have to do something like that, Ellis. I think you have to be creative. So the transition is progressive, I guess, rather than just going from a nappy to not wearing a nappy. I remember when my daughter was young, she had the same problem. We were potty training her, but she wouldn't. Unless she was in a nappy, she wouldn't poop. So, again, she sounded like about the same age as George, where she was able to actually talk to us. And weirdly, she wanted to put a nappy in the potty and poop on that. That was like a transitional step.
As a goodbye to nappies, like a fuck you nappies.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to shit on you, nappy.
Yeah, I guess. And then eventually...
Just gradually increasing the distance between fabric and anus.
Nice.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And then eventually it was fine. The other bit of advice that I wanted to pass on, because I remember Wiggo's lovely wife, Lindsay, telling us, probably at the same stage, was, when you were saying it makes you angry, you get to that stage where it's really frustrating, that they should be able to do it now, especially if they're like 3.5. And I remember Lindsay saying to me, just an aside, do you know anyone our age that wears a nappy? And I was like, what? She's like, do you know anyone our age that wears a nappy? And I was like, I don't think so. She said, no, because everyone eventually doesn't poop in a nappy.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I guess. Yeah, bit of perspective of, they'll get it.
Yeah.
But you have to buy.
Yeah, but there's a time pressure to do it before kindergarten. You don't want to be the only kid in kindergarten with a nappy, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're not allowed to go to school.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, you're not allowed to go to school.
It's grounds for not letting them in.
But he sounds like he could probably hold on all day at school too.
Well, yeah, and we've had a rough week. We've had the squirts this week, so this has been a bit of a...
no.
There's no way we're worrying about that this week.
All right. Well, hopefully there's not going to be some sort of World War I recreation happening at your school soon. Otherwise,
well, it would be rather accurate with the squirts, though. With
absolutely
going around, that's
yeah. Oh, well, I suppose they'll get him top marks.
I had a bit of a dad anecdote.
Dysentery.
It's not really a dad anecdote. Yes, dysentery is funny. I had a bit of a dad anecdote. It's not really a dad anecdote, but I feel that my wife...
Who are you to bring dad anecdotes in? Oh, that's right.
Oh, yes, remember?
Yeah.
It's not even a dad anecdote, but I just feel this whole week I have been out-dadded by my wife. She has become obsessed with a new app on her phone. And it was very reminiscent to me of our love and my continuing love of weather apps. She has developed during, her maternity leave and COVID being stuck at home, an utter obsession with her flight tracker app. So whenever something flies over our head, whether it be a helicopter or anything, she's gone for 2 minutes just on her phone looking up and then going, that one's going to Perth, that one's going to Darwin.
That's pretty good.
That feels like something I should be doing.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that feels like something I should be doing. Was it called Flight Tracker?
Flight Tracker, there's one, and just whenever there's something going over, it'll tell you, and you can go, she was showing me today, she gave me a good 10-minute rundown. You can go up on the map, and she went over to America, and she's like, look at all these planes over here. Look, can you believe to fly from Atlanta to Seoul, you go this way? And I was like,
isn't this just a recipe for all-day FOMO, though?
Yeah, a lot of that. But I think it started with helicopters. She was like, there's been a bit of helicopter action around our area.
Okay.
In fact, this was quite an amazing thing. There's a park just up from my house, about a block away, quite large oval, and a helicopter landed on it this week. We're still unsure why. It was a medical helicopter, so we're guessing something that way, but we're quite close to a hospital. I don't know what happened, but you could just see the helicopter getting closer to our house, and then it kind of went a bit further over and then stopped and was done for 4 hours and then took off again.
Why doesn't your wife know what happened?
She then looked at it and said, I can tell you what the helicopter is, but we don't know anything other than that.
Don't know the reason.
Yeah.
I love when she gets to the stage where she doesn't actually need the app anymore. Yeah. She just goes,
It's 10 o'clock to Japan.
JQ37, head to Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's right.
What's that one?
Is it wrong of me to suggest that, Monty, there's a term for that when your wife is doing dad things and you, with the app, is it, it's a bad pun coming, but I got to word it. Is it emapscalated?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I see where you want that. Emapscalated.
Can you go with that?
Yeah, I get you. I think your pun doesn't include the plainness of the app enough. If it was just a map app, that'd be fine. Emaps plane tracker scalated. Does that work?
Yeah, no, that's it. Then we'll go with that.
We go. That rolls off the tongue too.
Yeah. We'll get bumper stickers made.
Yes. So that was that's been killing me a bit because now, but I'm not
dadded.
Obviously, I can't tell her, but I'm going to get the app secretly and start looking at all sorts of plain shit. So,
I mean, that's a good question. Maybe for next week we can work out where have you been out-dadded by your significant other?
Yeah,
that's
please
great.
Write into the podcast, please.
Yeah,
tell us if you've been out-dadded.
And also, what kind of out-mumming can we do as retribution?
Nice. Oh, well, that's perfect because today I didn't out-mum her, but today was a big milestone for me. It was the first day I fed baby August with a bottle. We just tried it at home as a kind of, if we need to do this in the future, it'll work.
Yeah.
And so I felt quite like a mother and kind of got in touch with my motherly instincts and stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't need her at all anymore.
I said that. I literally said that straight away. She said, where'd you get that milk? And I said, yeah.
So we wanted to revisit the sport conversation we were having.
Yeah, I just wanted to check in. We talked a lot about sport and what kind of sport dad we were, or how other dads can go a bit, or other parents really can go a bit feral when they're supporting their kids. But the question I wanted to pose was, how do you handle it, or do you and your partner have different attitudes when it comes to the kids' coaches? So when the coaches get angry at both the girls, whether it's in basketball or soccer, it tends to make both my girls upset. And then they come home and then they say that their coach shouted at them or was really angry. And then my wife will be, well, that's not very nice. Like, they shouldn't be shouting at you, making you feel like that. And in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, well, they kind of deserved it. They weren't playing very well. But anyway, like, my youngest thinks the coach is shouting at him when he's saying, Noelle, you got to run, like that kind of thing, not actually being angry. But the other thing is too that the coaches,
it's cut through because the kids are often, off in their own world sometimes while playing the sport, or you're trying to cut over the top of other people yelling. So yes, it can sound angry, even though the coach is just attempting to be the loudest voice, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And Noel, especially in soccer, just at the start was like, he's always angry. And I was like, he's never angry. He's a really good coach and he's never angry and he's very patient. But to her, it's probably the loudest anyone's talked to her. With Violet, the issue is, so, like Justine was, getting a bit riled up about the coach, but Violet's last two coaches have been 16 and 17 years old.
Right.
So my question is, like, how do you cope? Have your kids had, or like, can you remember when you were a kid having coaches who were a bit fiery, and how did you handle that? Do you think it's worthwhile? Do you think it makes the kids play better? Is it part of it?
I think it could be a worrying sign of this generation that, there are certain people that are supposed to yell at you, and, you kind of like, and like coaches and principals, and like that's one of them. And so what you were talking about reminded me of like, how do you deal with it? When I think it was under 14 soccer, something like that. We had a coach called Fergal. Fergal was Fergal. Yeah, Fergal. Fergal was an Irish builder who had he loved football and had kind of applied to coach our local team, right? And so he was coaching under 14s, Div 2 or whatever we were, right? Fergal would just have 3 or 4 Guinnesses before training. Say instead of training, we're going to have a game. He would make the teams and put the best kids on his team, and then just play a game and like totally destroy,
just murder everyone,
right? Murder everyone, and then
flog them. All right.
But listen to this: it was amazing. Whatever Fergal did got us further than we'd ever been. We got to the grand final that year, and the best part. The week before the grand final, week before the semi, actually, the week before the semi-final, Fergal got deported. So we were without a coach for the final 2 games of the season, and we lost in the grand final because there was no Fergal, right? So, yeah.
What was the kind of mean team feeling towards Fergal, though?
Loved him. More like a kind of like, wow, look how good he is. And also he was very dirty when he'd play us in those games. Like,
that's what
larger man. He'd really kind of like really give it to you, but it made you want to play better.
I didn't imagine him being 4 Guinnesses down and, being dainty with everyone.
No. It made you
twinkle toes on the field, So, sorry, any knowledge on why he got deported? Drinking 4 Guinnesses
I think he was here illegally.
Into 14?
I don't think he was supposed to be here at all. It was something work-related. And they gave us like, the club sent us like a boring coach for and no one listened to him. No one was like, he's, sober at training, trying to make us run drill and stuff like that. Like, what are you talking about?
He didn't drop the shoulder into my neck.
Exactly. Yeah. No, so that was, Noelle should be happy that they're yelling at her just like that and not getting drunk before training and hacking her.
That's true. You ever try and look up what Fergal's doing these days?
No, never have. Hadn't thought about it till this very moment, actually.
Maybe he's listening.
Yeah, I hope Fergal's listening.
Yeah, look, I'm super impressed with the patience of pretty much every coach my children have had so far. And I never had any impatient or like loose in the kind of temper department coaches growing up either. I think the only time I did was the one and only time that I went to get coached at some tennis. And it was the first one, and there was a bunch of kids there.
Was it Demir?
Well, Demir-esque.
My favourite dad, favourite Australian dad.
Oh, really?
Demir Dokic, yeah. I was.
He's a dad.
You guys had brought him up. That was great. Love Demir Dokic.
Yeah.
Go on, Stu.
Yeah, Monty's favourite Australian dad, Demir Dokic.
I love Demir Dokic. It's a worrying thing.
He's great.
Might have a word to Lindsay.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. She doesn't know who Demir Dokic is. We're fine.
Right. Well, she's out-dadding you in that department then, because...
Just show her a picture and
that kind of
yeah, she'll know. Yeah,
you need a picture of him and the daughter, and then you're like, get it all. Yeah,
isn't that Brian Blessed?
Obscure.
I don't know. I had a terrible coach. My worst coach was actually my best friend's dad,
Ooh.
and that was in like under-8 soccer. And and at that stage, it wasn't graded or anything like that. And we had a pretty, for under-8s, we had a good team, and I was rubbish. But still, I was completely like humiliated on a week-on-week basis. So, and that's something which has stuck with me. And the fact that I never won, not once in the entire season, did I win the McDonald's award.
Damn it.
Oh. Well, that was in the days before they rotated it through the players to make everyone feel good.
No, I don't think so. I think they rotated it through when I was playing.
Like, seriously, we used to have under 6
just didn't like you.
And sub in for our team. Well, this is how it felt. We had under 6 kids come and sub in for our team, like for a few minutes, and they were winning this bloody McDonald's award. I was there week in, week out, doing the hard yards of training, still turning up, and never won the McDonald's award for the entire season.
Jeez.
That was pretty good. That's stuck in my craw.
We didn't get back to Buckland being coached by Jimmy Dockett.
Sorry, Buckland. I completely borrowed.
No,
that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes when these things bubble up, you got to let them out. That's fine.
We won a Demir cul-de-sac, and we got
that's right. Humiliation in youth sports.
Yeah.
So it was the first lesson, and there was a group of us, early teens. Maybe not even early teens, which makes it creepier. Maybe just preteen. Boys and girls, and this, fat, middle-aged tennis coach who spending a lot of time flirting with the young girls, unfortunately. And I accidentally sconned him on the back of the head with a tennis ball.
Nice.
He came up to me and bent over and kind of basically grabbed the front of my shirt and did that, that low growl that we were talking about in a previous episode. When you
teeth together,
teeth together, and I'm talking like this, going, "You ever do that again? You," basically threatening me.
Jesus.
So I assume because I made him look a bit of a goose in front of all the 11-year-olds he was trying to impress. So, that was a very unsavory, very creepy, and I didn't go back. And I've pretty much not liked tennis since then.
All right. Well, we're uncovering a bit, aren't we?
Yeah.
I don't know if I liked tennis at the time, to be honest. I think my parents were trying to get me to do anything but rugby league.
I remember
comes up again. Yeah, I remember your parents really didn't want you to play league, did they? This was
why would you? It's a maniac sport. Why would you want your kids playing that?
Yeah, we played at school all the time. Like ridiculous injuries would happen just even at lunchtime. It was outrageous.
Absolutely. I spear tackled somebody and they landed on their head. I could have broken his fucking neck.
Yeah,
I crushed the tendons in my arm and had to go to physio so I could straighten it.
Wow.
I'll never forget the time Buckland coming off the field after a big hit.
Yeah.
A big hit.
Well, that was,
and he was taking. This is before the concussion rules and everything.
Yeah.
He did not know where he was.
And
After him,
no idea.
But that was in an actual game we were talking about.
That was an organised game. Like that wasn't a lunchtime game. Yeah.
We were talking about a lunchtime game where we'd often play in the middle of the basketball court while people were trying to play basketball.
Basketball, yeah.
Straight across the middle. Yeah.
Broken arms, collarbones, all kinds of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
It's good sport. Get into it. Get into it, youngins.
Yes. So,
but I remember. I mean, this isn't a bad coach lesson, but I hadn't thought about this for 20 odd years. But a good dad lesson was when I played rep cricket when I was 15, and I did enjoy it. Like I think maybe I played too much cricket that year, if that's possible. And I was over it by the end of the season. And I really didn't enjoy the rep cricket. It was too serious, and the coach took it way too serious, and I just didn't like it. So I remember talking to my dad and saying, I don't think I'll even try out for rep cricket next year. And he was like, fair enough. You call the coach and you tell him that. And
Whoa.
I was like, what? And he was like, no, you're like, 16. You call him and explain it to him. And I was like, okay. And I did. I rang like this 15-year-old, rang a grown man and said, yeah, I don't want to play reps next year, and here's why. And I was like, at the time, I was like, what the hell? That was hardcore. But looking back, I'm like, that's pretty good.
yeah.
Like, you don't get your dad to ring up and go, my son's not going to play.
Yeah.
That's weird. Maybe he was trying to call my bluff.
Oh, right. Did you think that the coach would start firing up at you?
I don't know. Like, you're 15. You just think every adult's going to fire up at you, maybe. I don't know. How often do you ring an adult when you're 15?
Well, that's true enough.
To let them down, too, to tell them you won't be back to whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't think I was letting him down that much, really.
No,
I think I didn't bowl and I batted at 8 or something.
I was going to say, what? We won't get, 3 snicks through the slips. And...
That's right, yeah. Yeah, get one away. Yeah, we're really going to miss that.
Anything else on the sports stuff?
Well, the last thing I just wanted to say was you were talking about the adults who, for want of a better term, meant to shout at you. Was the Violet's coach? Like she is 17 and learning to be a coach. That's what I said to Violet. She was like, she's always angry and shouting, and I said, yeah, but she is also 17 and she's actually learning how to be a coach as well.
Yeah.
And again, my wife was like, it's. Violet seemed pretty upset about that. I said, I don't think she was. But anyway, of course, the next week, what happened? They all played harder because they were, in part afraid that she was going to be angry at them.
Yeah.
And they all played harder. And she said, everyone played well. Great. Good job. And she was like, yeah, it's great. Yeah, that was good. That was a good game. So it's one of those things of, do we not shout at our children enough? Undoubtedly, no. I don't think that's the issue. But in kind of you're playing competitive sport, it's a very fine line.
Yeah.
That you want to teach, you want your kids to learn that's going to happen, and that's actually an important part of. A good coach makes you not want to let them down.
The way to get them over that fine line is to yell at them, right?
But is shouting the new flogging though? Are today's kids as wary of being shouted at as we were, copping one?
Oh, from a coach? I don't know if I ever.
Oh, I don't know. Just an authority figure in general, parent or whatever,
That's probably true. I mean, in terms of parenting, yes, I'd say so. From when I was a kid.
Where are we headed? If we used to hit children in figures of authority, and now we're scared to yell at them,
withering glances.
Is the future ruled by children? Are they?
No.
I don't think we're afraid to shout at. I don't think the shouting at children is ever going away.
Good,
because the shouting at children's rarely premeditated, and sometimes a whole lot of fun.
Well, all right. On that note,
no one's going with me there. Oh,
okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I don't know if we've helped Monty or anyone there. What thoughts?
It's more full of anecdotes this evening and opinions, but that's fine.
That's okay. But it's through stories that mankind has learnt for hundreds and thousands of years. The stories of the elders.
But would it really help if we knew what this app was that helped us, track the...
I'll find out the name.
Planes.
I'll find out the name and bring it to you all next week.
Thank you. Sky Tracker.
That's our learning moment of this episode. Get that app. Dad on. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bizarre. And then the same company has come out with a internet-controlled anal plug of some sort.
Oh,
I'm like, this is just asking for it, isn't it?
Asking for it. Asking.
Nice.
I'm glad I'm still recording that.
That is good.